Laurens County Lowdown is presented by Self Regional Healthcare.
Hello again and welcome to another episode of Laurens County Lowdown. We are glad that you are watching, listening, that you are here with us as we continue to try to bring you conversations about what's going on in Laurens, about folks that are worth knowing about the things that the community wants to hear. And so we're glad that you have joined us here. Looking forward to our conversation with District 55 Interim Superintendent Dr. Rhett Harris. We'll get to Dr. Harris in just one second, but want to make sure you're aware football is back. It is week 0 on the South Carolina High School League calendar, and your Laurens Raiders, for those of you in the Laurens area that are listening, are back in action this Friday night against J.L. Mann, which means the Raider Sports Network is back on the air. Jackson Edwards and Thomas Jones will have the call. I'll be there on the sidelines. As we said, our guest today recently was named, about a month ago, I guess, the interim superintendent of Laurens District 55 after a long career in Laurens, Dr. Rhett Harris. Dr. Harris, how are you this morning?
Doing fine today, and I hope you are, Andrew. Glad to be here, and I appreciate you guys inviting me.
Well, we're glad that you joined us. We'll keep on, since it is getting to be football season, we'll just take a real second. Raiders versus Patriots this Friday. Raiders heading to J.L. Mann, coming off a couple of disappointing seasons to start Coach Porter's tenure here, but looking to make some noise this year. What are your thoughts? What are your hopes? I know you've been out to scrimmages and jamborees and things like that. What are you looking forward to about football season this year, Dr. Harris?
Well, I'm like you. Football season is just a great time. It's always you always anticipate it, and it's one of the best times of the year where you get to watch a lot of football, and high school football especially. It's fun to watch. Our team, I think from our team standpoint, I'm a believer in what Coach Porter is trying to do, and I know it takes time to build a system, and he's been building a system in over there, and so I expect to see some improvements on the field, but I also kind of temper that with the idea that he's still trying to get people bought into the system that he has, and I'm real high on him and his staff, and I think we're going to have a better year. What that will look like is not known yet, but I'm excited to see what type of product they can put out there this year.
I'm looking forward to it. I agree with you. I think we're definitely going to see improvement, but five preseason top 10 teams on the schedule over different sizes, different regions. So it's going to be a tough year in terms of the competition, and so we'll see how we measure up. You've got coaching in your background. You've dealt with some teams that maybe have had disappointed seasons trying to come in. Two straight 1-10 seasons. If you were in Coach Porter's shoes, what would you be saying to the team as they come into this new year and try to put some of that disappointment behind them?
I think you just have to let them know what success looks like. What is a successful year going to be for us? And I think that's just the idea of improvement. Being competitive every week. And so some teams you're going to run into. You might run into a buzzsaw, but I think looking to be competitive every week, doing things every play that are going to matter. Running the play the best that you possibly can, executing. And I think that's the type of thing that somebody like Greg Porter brings to the table. He's going to bring teams that are going to execute. And I think he'll be able to do a good job. Even in a losing effort, he'll be able to do a good job of convincing his kids that we played well tonight or that we played better tonight. We executed better than we did last week. I think that's what he has to build towards. And then we'll see how it shakes out as far as do we do enough to make a playoff run.
Well, as much as I would love to turn this into a football preview podcast, we do have some other topics we have to get to. So let's get into the thing that I know was probably at the forefront of a lot of people's minds as school started. You had a bit of an exciting first day in a way that I would bet you weren't expecting or hoping for when a situation came up with the transportation department and with our school buses. Can you explain to us what happened? What is the origin of the disagreement that there seems to be between our bus drivers in the district? And can you give us a little idea of where things stand now about 2 weeks into the school year?
Sure. I can't explain it all, but I can give you a little synopsis of it. First of all, our bus drivers do a great job for us. They're so important to the district, and we want to work through whatever things are going on. We're going to work through it and get to some type of conclusion that everybody can understand and live with. Couple of things. One was a policy, our dual employment policy that was passed in 2025. We're working through some issues on that. Also, overtime pay is one of the things that has come up. Now, what happened was, and I think I did a bad job of communicating. I did not communicate in the way that would have made this better, maybe averted some things. I think maybe we allowed Facebook to set the narrative, and I should have set the narrative. And so, they have concerns. We understand the concerns that they have. I talked with them that day. We got kids home that day, and we have another meeting set next week with them to continue to work through these issues. So they've been, we've been business as usual, and we hope to get to some conclusions here soon. And their voice is going to be heard next week. So we have some things going on, and certainly understand concerns and the community concerns. But right now we're good, and we hope that we're going to be good all year as we go forward.
All right. And you said the dual employment policy is kind of a recent change, right? You said that
Right.
was 2025. Can you, I know you don't want to go into too many specifics as you're still communicating with the drivers and going through that, but can you explain what the policy was, what's changed, what maybe the source of some of this confusion was?
Well, this number of dual employment people is not a big number of our bus drivers. I think right now we're looking at a group of about 13 out of some 70 bus drivers, so it's not a lot of those. But it's the idea of does one job interfere with the doing of the other job, that type thing. So it's a basic concept where you don't want things overlapping too much. You want to get all of what you should get from an employee in one job and not have it bleeding over into another. So the board set the policy. We have to enforce the policy, but we'll see what that looks like because the board will be involved in the decisions that are made. I don't do anything unilaterally
Right.
up here. I don't have that type of power. So the board will be heavily involved in what we end up doing with that.
Okay, so there was a time in District 55, and correct me if I'm wrong, where dual responsibilities was kind of the norm, right? That if you were a teacher's aide, you were also a bus driver, that was something we were doing to try and increase the number of drivers, that sort of thing. So that is no longer part of the district policy.
No, you can work two places in the district. That's not the idea is when you get into overtime pay because you're working two jobs and it's time and a half that we're having to pay, that type thing, then that becomes a problem. We do have issues, Andrew, that we've got financial issues that we really have to pay attention to and look at where we can save and do better. That's not just with a transportation system. That is across the board. That's here at the district office. That's in our schools. That's in contracts that we make with other people. We have to watch our finances. And so, we're just trying to get a hold of things. And so we can build up our fund balance again. And we don't have to worry about the state looking at our finances and say, you're you're in a bad condition here. So we're trying to clean some things up, and we're looking.
Well, you caught where I was going to go next, because I know the district's finances have been a source of concern, something that folks have been looking at for, several years now. That I know y'all have been, even back to your time splitting the interim with Dr. Penland and then his time together, that y'all have been looking at. But, do folks need to prepare for things to have to change, for policies to have to change, for there to be, whether there are cuts in teachers and staff and things like that? Do folks need to prepare for the district to take measures that are going to look drastic in the moment, but are what we have to do to get us back where we need to be?
Well, for example, in transportation, I don't think what we're talking about is anything drastic. Our bus drivers are they're given a full-time wage plus benefits to do their job. That was done probably back when Dr. Strickland was here, and none of that is going to change. So we're not looking at drastic changes there, but everything has to be considered. It could be a position that is not a critical position that we may have to not have anymore. It could be a retiree that leaves and we not fill that position again, at least for a period of time. So I don't think we're looking at drastic change. What I'm interested in is that taxpayers understand that we're spending their money in the best way possible, that we're being careful with public money, and that they can trust us to spend it the right way and not be wasteful. And we have a long way to go with that. And I think that there's steps that we have to take to make sure that they feel better about our fiscal position and what we're doing. And so just being a good steward, all about that. Just being a good steward is what we want to be. And so it's going to take some time, but I don't think we're talking about any drastic. I think there's a lot of savings out there that we can recognize and realize with just some looking and some simple common sense approaches to some things.
You've touched on this already, so I want to keep it going while your mind is on it. One of the things I've noticed, I've been back in Laurens for going on 6 years now. Obviously had family in the district for a long time, still have family in the district with my wife and my sister both working in the district. And it seems to me that there is this distrust, and maybe distrust is too strong a word, but the trust and the confidence of the public in our school district and in our school system right now is not where it once was. And there's the financial side of it, but I think you also see it in, concerns about safety, just concerns about the overall quality of our school system. What do you think needs to happen to build that trust back up? And what are you hoping to do during your time as in interim for however long it is?
Well, if you think back to when you were in school here, started school here, Dr. Taylor was here. Ed Taylor was here for a long time as far as superintendents go. He had a long time here and did a tremendous job. That, and then followed that with Billy Strickland, who was here for, 8-10 years, something like that. So you had a long period of time where you had a lot of stability here at the district office. And then we've had a superintendent for 4 years, and then 3 years, and then 2 years, and now an interim superintendent. So I think it's going to take time, and we're going to have to have some stability in this job to start building back the trust that people may have lost. I think that when I came here, when Dr. Taylor was superintendent, there was a lot of trust in this district. And I think under Dr. Strickland, the same was true. And it's just going to take some longevity, I think, in leadership and slowly build that back. It can't be done overnight. I can't do it as an interim superintendent, but I can begin some processes that start at least heading us in the right direction. And I hope to do that.
Well, let's talk about kind of how you perceive the interim position for a little bit, if you're willing to. I know that you're still relatively new in that position. We've just got school started, but do you see your role? Are you there to keep things running? Are you here to keep things running, or can we expect to see some progress in some of the initiatives that have been started, some of the concerns people have? There are things that I think people feel a sense of urgency for. Right. And do you feel that urgency? Do you feel like you have the power to work on some of those things, or are you more kind of making sure the ship stay afloat and everything keeps running smoothly?
No, I don't want to be a placeholder up here. I don't think that's what this job is. I think the interim superintendency is to do all that we can in pushing this district forward. If it's for 1 year, then we try to get all that we can out of this year. Certainly, there'll be some things that I'll want to address and will need to address at the direction of the board. And then there'll be some things that I'll probably recommend that they address in the future. So I see me as yes, I want to do some things. I don't think people expect me to get paid a salary up here just to hold a place until somebody comes in. We have work to do, and that's what we're going to do. And the board they've given me their assurance that I have the full authority of a superintendent to do what I can do during this year, and I'll follow their lead, and we'll try to make a difference this year. I think that's important. We need to get a little better, and then we'll see where it goes at the end of this year.
Yeah. Can you share with us some of those things you're thinking about and looking at in this first year, some of maybe the challenges and opportunities that you see the district facing really in that kind of 3 to 5 year span, those things that are coming pretty quickly that need to be addressed and folks need to start thinking about and preparing for?
Well, I think again the fiscal part of it is tremendously important. We've got to get our fiscal house in order. I think that our new CFO, Leanne London, is doing a tremendous job. She has a great knowledge of school finance. She's given good direction there. So I definitely think the financial part of it is huge and maybe probably number one, because really if we don't get it in order, if we were to have some more bad years there and have to go into our fund balance, we really risk having the state come in here and take this office over. And we don't want to go there. So we have things to do in finance. The other thing that I've been heavily involved in, and you may end up asking me about this, has to do with our buildings, our schools, our facilities. And we try, you mentioned safety a while ago. We've tried to make our schools as safe as we can get them. And we continue to add things to continue to do that. But, when you got a building that was started in 1912 or 1902, there was one that was Gray Court. Actually, the building of the first part of Gray Court started in 1902. There's a plaque there on the wall that proves it. And it took them, I think, 10 or 12 years to get that building built. It's difficult to maintain things like that. You pour an awful lot of money into some of these older buildings. We have some buildings that are in pretty good shape in parts. We've got some places that have been added on. So we have kind of a mixture of some really old facilities and some that are in pretty good shape. But I think that's something that we're going to have to, at some point, go to the public with and see what we can do, whether it's just building some new wings, building on things that we need. Whether it's a new school, I'm not sure, but those things are coming down the pipe. I mean, it's there and it's staring us in the face as we see all these houses going up. We're going to have to take that on at some point.
Well, that's one of the things you see is you go to, doing the football games, we go and see some of these other schools in our communities and the investments they've made in the schools. And, you go see Fountain Inn High School and how nice it is. And it's right there. And then you hear, I hear you say, well, the original building of Gray Court is over 120, getting close to 125 years old. And that's, we see houses going up on over and over and over there. And you begin to see like something has to be done. And
Right.
Something has to come up. And is that, as we said, is that something that you think you're going to take on, or is that something that we're in a wait and see process and is going to have to wait for a new superintendent and all the things that come with somebody transitioning in?
Yeah, I don't really think that there's an appetite right now, as far as the board is concerned, to try to take on, all the costs that is involved in that, because we're not Greenville County. We don't have the tax base that they have. We're not a Spartanburg school. We don't have that type of tax base, or Greenwood 50. We don't have that. So it's going to be on the backs of our taxpayers. And, it's a tough time right now. There's, you hear the word affordability all the time. And, I understand that we can only ask so much. So a referendum to do, a couple of $100 million worth of work. I mean, that's a lot for a community to take on. And I understand the reluctance to do that. I'm just saying we're going to have to do some things and be as creative as we can to at least get started. Now, that's probably not going to fall on me, but the thinking about it, we've already started. That goes back to really Dr. Thomas started with studying and doing some work on laying plans for that. Dr. Penland picked that up. And so we have some plans laid, but it's a matter of financing it. And it's a tough ask in a community like Laurens that we don't have the tax base that some others around us have.
It is. I definitely understand it's a tough ask. It also, as my concern is that it's always going to be a tough ask, and all of those buildings are just getting older.
Right.
And my dad will talk about when he retired in 2018, his room at Laurens High School had 2 outlets. He had 2 outlets in that room and was, stuff in extension cords and surge protectors and everything he could in. And people, when people think about these new schools and what they bring, there's so many just basic things that are necessary that folks are missing. Well, we've kind of talked on not necessarily negative, but difficult subjects as well. I do want to give you a chance to talk about positive things you've seen here in the start of the school year. So can you give me anything as school has started? What has gotten you excited here in these first couple of weeks? What are you looking forward to as school progresses this year?
Well, I think we got a great team in place. I think our principals, I think they're a great group. I think they're going to lead their schools in the way that they should. I think we're very solid here at the district office, teaching and learning, and these guys, they do a tremendous job. We had some great news that just came out in the last couple of days about math scores. Our growth in math scores, we're third in the state. We haven't heard news like that in a while, and it's nice to see that what we have going on. I've been in 2 ILT, our school leadership teams, instructional leadership teams. I was at the high school on Monday morning, and then in the afternoon at Laurens Elementary. Great work going on by those teams, and we have a system in place, Andrew, that is going to allow us to continue to grow in the area of student progress and students getting exactly what they need and being prepared at the end of that 12th grade year to do whatever they want to do. We've got a great system, again, going back to Dr. Thomas and then Dr. Penland continuing it, and it's continuing now. And it's kind of like I talked with the principal this morning. It's kind of like the football team that has a great scheme. You hear that a lot of times. They got a great scheme, that they've got a great basis for what they do, and then they kind of tweak that each year to get a little bit better. We've got that type of system in teaching and learning right now that's going to be able to carry this district forward. And I'm really excited about that because our students are going to get better and better teaching. And I think we're going to see some things that maybe people are not expecting in the next few years in a positive way.
I know the teachers in my life have been excited about what they're starting to see from the data last year and some of the things that have been implemented that are having results. One kind of project that started under your predecessors and is hopefully continuing to move on is the Career and Technology Center that has been talked about, working with District 56. Can you give us any update on those plans? Is that still moving forward? Has it been put on the back burner? Where are we on that?
Well, we're still very hopeful for a CATE Center at some point, but again, you're talking about probably $60 million that's necessary there. When we first started the process, we thought we were going to be able to get half of that in an earmark from the state legislature. Doug Gillum was working on that very hard for us. We thought we were going to get that, and then maybe the next year, the part of that, that did not happen. As a matter of fact, they pretty much put a halt to earmarks right around the time we were needing the money. So all we've gotten so far from the state is some seed money to do the planning. All the planning is ready for it. We're ready to go. The county has given us some land to put it on, and we're ready to go with it, but it's just a matter of funding. So we'll see. I think there's some things that are being done at the state level, maybe that can help us in the future to maybe make that happen. But District 56 and 55 are in tandem and ready to go on this project. And I think it would be, for our economy here in this county, I think it would be a great boost to this county if we could make this happen. But again, it comes down to dollars, and we'll just.
All right, so I'll say it so you don't have to. Contact your state legislators, contact your senators. If you want to see the CATE Center built, we need some help with it. So let folks know if that's important to you, everyone who's listening. Let me ask you one big picture question. We've kind of gotten into the weeds. But we talked about this with Dr. O'Shields, and it fits in well with your story of having been basically your entire career in Laurens, in District 55, if I'm right. I know maybe started somewhere else, moved around a little bit, but spending a lot of time in District 55, raising your family here. Now you've got grandchildren growing up in this community, getting towards school age. But as we talked about with Dr. O'Shields, that's becoming more and more of a rare breed in education, the folks who spend their entire time in one place, and it's especially tough, here in Laurens when Greenville County is right there. So what What do you see as what the district can do to try and encourage folks to, come to Laurens, stay in Laurens, to retain those teachers and to build up their careers here?
Yeah, I think it's really what type of perception do we put off over here at the district office when people do come in. My first experience in Laurens was with Gigi Oots, who was the personnel director at the time. And Gigi Oots talked me into coming to Laurens. I talked to her on the phone, and she was such a good salesperson for the district that she convinced me that this is where I needed to come. I did have another offer at the time, and I was kind of between two school districts, and I'd never been to Laurens before. And it was her. And then when I got here and interviewed, it was Dr. Taylor, it was Tara Dean. When I got the job, it was the people at the school. It was Sylvia Price. It was Ms. Gary. It was these types of people, Dwayne Denny, Joe Walker, George Ward. It's people, I think, that keep people here. If we form great relationships with our teachers as they come in, and they're not just numbers, they're actual people that we talk to and are concerned about and work with. I think we have what it takes, that small town feeling that maybe some people are looking for and can find a home here like I did. I had 12 years in when I came here at two different districts, but this is my 29th year in Laurens. And again, I had never been here, but it's finding a home. I'd like to see people come in and get involved more locally. I think we have such a transient group these days that they don't get the full effect of Laurens. My dad told me a long time ago, you need to go up there and get involved in everything. So, when you come into Laurens, you get in a church and you get into community things and you meet a lot of people, then you end up wanting to stay because it's a great place to raise a family and it's a great place to live. And I hope more and more people will come here and put down some roots and at least for a few years and give us a shot to see if we can make them stay for 30.
There you go. Well, and I can say on behalf of, again, wife who teaches in this community, sister who's teaching in this community, all of us kind of have the opportunity when you're dealing with your child's teachers, the way you have those interactions, the things you do, and not saying don't advocate for your child, not saying don't do what you need to do to make sure they're getting the best experience, but we all have a role in making teachers feel welcome, especially when we're dealing with young teachers, new teachers, pulling them into the community. That's something I think we can all take away. Well, Dr. Harris, we appreciate you answering these questions, talking to us about what's going on. And if you're ready, we are going to shift into the fastest growing segment in the county, the Lowdown Lightning Round. Are you ready to go, Doctor?
Yeah,
you ready to face the lightning round, Dr. Harris?
I'll give it a shot. Yeah, we'll see.
All right, well, let's start here. What is your most memorable moment from your time in District 55?
I think that if I look back at everything, it was Dr. Taylor coming to the high school in 2000. This would have been in 2003, and telling me that he was going to give me the principal's job at Laurens Middle School. That was a huge moment for me, and it was something that I wanted very bad at that time, and to have his confidence and to be given that. And I went there for a lot of years, and that was something I very much appreciated. And I can remember back to that one moment, when he walked in my office, and I didn't know if it was going to be yes or no, but it ended up being yes, and I've always been thankful for that.
Well, on the subject of Laurens Middle Schools, I want you to complete this sentence for me. You ready?
Yes.
Changing Laurens Middle School's colors from orange and white to maize and blue was a blank decision.
It was a decision that was suggested to me by Herbert Adams. All right. Herbert Adams reminded me that all the other schools, all the other middle schools had the original colors of the high school that was there before. Okay. Now that's all I needed as a Carolina fan to change the colors back to blue and gold. All right. So he nudged me in that direction. He gave me the backstory of Bill Ramey and all the orange. And so I had it all, and we went for it right there early on in my tenure. That was my first year. And so I have some yearbooks over here. The first one is orange and blue, and the rest of them are blue and gold. So I took what he gave me and I went with it.
I'm sure you and Herbert didn't have any ulterior motives in
No,
shifting something from Orange.
no,
That
did.
isn't surprising
It
at
was
all.
completely, yeah, it was easy for me to get rid of the Pauls. I had no problem with that. And some people didn't like it, but we loved it.
The jerseys do look good. I like Laurens Middle's colors. You've been in Laurens long enough that we can have this conversation. One business from the past that you'd bring back if you could.
One business. Let's see. I think one business. I'm thinking of Temple's restaurant on the square, and
Hummingbird.
The Hummingbird. I think
Hummingbird
if I could have the
Cafe.
Hummingbird Cafe back, that would be the one I would bring back.
Bird was delicious, but Great Crepes is in there now, and they're doing a great job. We appreciate them in my family. We head over there a lot. It's lunchtime at the district office. Your car has broken down. You have to walk somewhere to get lunch. Are you going to Whiteford's, Twin Palmetto, or Senor Garcia's?
Because don't want to walk too far, I probably just go to Senor Garcia's.
That is convenient.
But I tell you,
there for you.
Let me give a plug for with the other two, because I eat both of those places a lot. So I like all three.
Yeah. Best athlete to go through District 55 during your time here?
Best athlete. There's a couple of, it's been such a long time for some of these guys. We had a quarterback come through around Dwayne Denny's time that I would probably put up there, but I can't, I'm telling you, I'm drawing a blank on names right now, but I've seen some good ones. I tell you, we've had some good basketball players and some good football players come through here. But, Nate Gary, I'd say probably Nate Gary is probably top of the list for me.
I had an autographed Nate Gary Polaroid hanging up in my bedroom as a kid. Miss Gary got it for me. He is the first athlete I remember just like being a superhero going and seeing him.
And a great guy.
The last Laurens High School state championship was girls basketball in 2001. The next Laurens High School team to win a state championship will be
could be this year. Boys basketball could be this year. We've got the talent to do it. I understand there's going to be a new point guard coming in from somewhere in this age of everybody moving all around, even in high school. So we got some talent coming, I think, and we got a couple of guys that are really good enough to carry us to something like that. So state championship, as a former coach, that is a big reach. I mean, what T. Langford did, winning 3, is pretty incredible. And it's not an easy thing to do. You can have great teams and not ever do that. My high school coach was a great high school coach. He won 1 in his long career, and even that was touch and go. So it's not an easy thing to do, but we do have a talented boys basketball team this year, and it could happen.
Yeah. You've worn a lot of hats in District 55. If you had to go back and do your full career in just one of your positions, which one would you choose?
Principalship. Yeah, it was.
Good.
I think that was just a lot of good people came through Laurens Middle, and a lot of kids that I see now as grown-ups, and we of course now I will mention that one of my downtimes at Laurens Middle was when you were the wrecking ball at Sanders for the academic team, and just used to embarrass us, a one-man wrecking crew.
I was about to say, if Lauren Hendricks is watching somewhere, never forget how dominant Sanders was. In the academic team back in the day. Describe the following people in one word or sentence. Ed Taylor.
Dependable, steady, and everything you need as a superintendent.
Billy Strickland.
Billy Strickland was cut from the same cloth as Ed Taylor.
All right. Stephen Peters.
Dr. Peters gave me an opportunity here at the district office that I'll always appreciate.
All right. Amika Carter or Thompson, sorry. Dr. Thomas, sorry. She was Miss Carter when I had her in middle school, and I was stuck with that forever. But Dr. Thomas.
Dr. Thomas was very talented in a lot of ways. Great job as a teacher, principal, and superintendent here. Again, gave me opportunities that I'm very appreciative of.
All right, and Dr. Penland.
Dr. Penland also gave me some opportunities that I'm thankful for. Just a great guy and a true friend and somebody you could always depend on.
If you were state superintendent of education for a day, what is one thing you would do or change?
I think our teachers do a job that you could never pay them enough for. So I think I would be lobbying hard with the state legislature to pay these folks as much as they could possibly be paid, and maybe reach for the stars a little bit in that area.
That would be popular in my house, let me tell
Yes,
you.
ma'am.
We'd appreciate that. Well, Dr. Harris, we do appreciate you coming on. Thank you for spending some time with us, talking about, clearing some things up, giving us a look at what's coming ahead in the district. Anything you'd like to say to the folks of District 55 as we wrap?
Just, I owe a lot to this district, and I hope that I've given back some as well, and I hope to give back as much as possible this year and going forward. I'm just again, I'm glad to be here in Laurens, and District 55 means an awful lot to me. So I want to give them everything that I can in this job this year and do the best that I can.
Well, we're glad to have you here, and we're glad that you have been with us. So we appreciate you coming on. Thank you for spending this time with us, and we're looking forward to seeing what you do here in District 55.
Thank you so much, Andrew. I appreciate it.